What is a vast garbage dump has now become a major settlement area for the Venezuelan refugees.
Migration brings a lot of issues.
The country's pretty well collapsed. There's no business, there's no gasoline, there's no electricity.
This is a special edition of Living Truth, recorded on location in Colombia. We're here to follow the journey of the displaced, children, women, and men who have been forced out of their homes in Venezuela onto a long and difficult road filled with uncertainty. And on this road to survival, there are communities of loving women and men who are coming together to welcome the Venezuelan people with footpaths of care and support. We're here on location to document and present what we see, what we hear, and what we learn. We invite you to be a part of this journey. This is Living Truth.
This is a special edition of Living Truth, recorded on location in Colombia. Join Brett McBride as he shares the stories of the men and women dedicated to helping the people of Venezuela on their journey of hope. This is Living Truth, El Camino. As tens of thousands displaced Venezuelans continue to flow into Colombia through Cucuta every day, many are also entering through another border town called Maicao, about 600 kilometers north of Cucuta. From Maicao, they often journey several days, some on foot, to arrive in Barranquilla. Many Venezuelans who make their way here end up staying and forming different settlement communities throughout the city.
The community you see behind me is called Villa Caracas. What is a vast garbage dump has now become a major settlement area for the Venezuelan refugees. The space has been filled with makeshift shelters built from scraps found in the waste they've settled upon. But amid the disarray, there's an uncanny sense of order that exists throughout the settlement. This is because many of the Venezuelans in the community are hardworking people from all walks of life. They were technicians, laborers, engineers, doctors, teachers, and lawyers back in Venezuela.
With the help of our TearFund representative Helen Baquero, Brett McBride connected with Venezuelan refugees and discussed life in Villa Caracas.
So, Judy, thank you for having us into your home here in Villa Caracas. What was life like in Venezuela?
My husband had a stable job. I had my own house. Everything was very good.
And then, as the situation started to deteriorate there, what made them decide to leave Venezuela?
I was 6 months pregnant, and I was going to give birth early. At the time I was going to give birth, they didn't have the equipment for a C-section. And the twins came out with complications. They were born with respiratory problems. Then they gave them to me, and they told me that they couldn't do any more because they didn't give me hope that the twins would survive. I sold everything to bring them here.
And so you traveled from Venezuela through Cucuta up to here, or?
Along trails, through Maracaibo. I settled here without a roof, without a door, without flooring, without anything, because we didn't have anywhere to live. I was in the street with my 3 children and my husband. We began to look for scraps of laminate to make a roof. And so, little by little, I stayed here.
And so how do you make ends meet?
I have to go to sell little candies or ribbons, whatever is available. And with that, we survive here.
You've connected with the church here as well.
They have supported us in everything, with food and with a water tank. The church has been a great, great help for the children with the community kitchen. My child was underweight and he gained weight.
What do you miss most about what Venezuela used to be like?
Honestly, it's my family. My family. I've already been here for 2 years. I haven't seen my mom since I came here. I miss her with all my heart. My brother passed away and I couldn't see him. That was hard for me too because I couldn't say goodbye to him. My dad is sick. I haven't been able to see him either. That's what I miss most, my family. I don't ever wish anyone to go through this in their lives. This is what comes from my heart.
Sale del corazón. Eso es lo que quiero que sepan.
I'm sorry.
Lo siento, dice. Cosa que pasa.
Can I give her a hug?
Que si te puedo dar un abrazo.
You're amazing.
Que eres increíble.
You and your husband are amazing.
Tú y tu esposo son increíbles.
Approximately 1,500 families currently live in Villa Caracas, which amounts to almost 10,000 individuals. And children make up the majority of this significant number. They are the very reason most of these men and women have had to make the decision to leave their homes behind. There are women who have had to make the difficult journey to Colombia while pregnant, and many giving birth within Villa Caracas. Despite the harsh living conditions, families are able to survive and many desire to build a sense of home in the community. But the reality is there are too many factors that continue to threaten their sense of settlement and safety. Gang control, prostitution, exploitation, substance abuse, and the fear of being evicted are just some of the realities they are forced to face and live with every day.
Amidst the refuse and makeshift shelters, natural leaders such as Josnelli step up to represent their newfound neighborhood. With 9 mouths to feed from her tiny shack, she focuses her leadership skills on family as well as community.
So Josnelli, thank you for welcoming us into your home. What has the church meant to you in this season of life and in this time and in the community?
Well, first and foremost, it was just identifying our needs. That helped us a lot. They gave us a lot of help. It was such great help for us because we didn't have any way to sustain ourselves with food, with hygiene, medications, a place to eat.
So as you've gotten to know the community, there's a lot of people here from Venezuela that came from good paying, high-end, highly educated jobs.
Yes, I know many people who are professionals. My husband is a petroleum engineer, a professional. My husband leaves at 4:30 a.m. to walk around selling small finger pastries called deditos. I know one neighbor, she is a doctor, a pediatrician.
So Josnelli, we notice and observe that you're a bit of a leader in the neighborhood, a connector. What gives you that drive to be a leader in the community?
One of the things that drives me as a leader is that I don't do it for myself. If I have something, then my community has it too. And that is leadership, so that we all have things equally. The hardest thing is when help comes to us, and it's too little to share with all the big community. The community sometimes says, but why not for me? It's hard for one to make that kind of decision.
Wow. Yeah, that would be tough.
Really hard. Because sometimes you don't want to say there's only enough for 100 people. And for the rest? We don't know what hardship each person has in their home. No work. We don't know what they're doing to earn enough for a plate of food.
Well, thank you again for having us into your home. It's an honor to meet you.
Es un honor conocerte.
The makeshift neighborhood known as Villa Caracas is prone to being washed away by heavy rains or toppled by government bulldozers. Electricity comes from a tenuous connection to a city pole. A single water source is supplied by improvised connections made with found and recycled materials. There is no indoor plumbing. Cooking, laundry, hygiene, and personal privacy are luxuries. Newborns and young children are susceptible to disease, malnutrition, infection.
Our partner TearFund is an established agency committed to supporting the people of Venezuela with a wide range of necessary ministries that are implemented through the local church. From strategic feeding programs to trauma counseling and educational classes for the children, these services provide the Venezuelan people with opportunities to live beyond the day-to-day mode of survival. So Helen, we were just in Villa Caracas. Tell us a bit about the work that TearFund is doing through the local church in that community.
Well, TearFund has been working now for more than 2 years in different parts of Barranquilla. In Villa Caracas, we've been working, providing some hygiene kits for the families, for the Venezuelan migrants that are living there. And we have a community kitchen where the kids from the families can come every day and have one meal every day. So one of the things we have done is to work together with the churches so they can have a space just to talk, because there is hope. And some of the things that you usually listen in this community is that they want to go back home. They have this hope that they are just for a short time here, and they will go back to Venezuela and the things will be restored and much better there.
We notice as we move through the community, there's a lot of children and even pregnant mothers who are giving birth in Villa Caracas. What are the needs of the children if they're facing a long term of being here in Colombia?
Well, one of the things we have been working in, for instance, to provide some food. So they receive meals every day, and you can notice the change. Their weight is much better. Yeah, their life changes. So that's one of the things. We also have in these spaces some time to play with the kids so they can have another environment. The other thing we do as an organization is to connect the local churches with other organizations that are already working, for instance, in health, in legal advice. We are part of this local committee of organizations that are already working with the Venezuelan migrants. So we just try to, if we can do something, we just ask someone else to see if they can also help or collaborate.
About 1.3 million Venezuelans have poured into Colombia. What's the general attitude of the average Colombian towards the influx of Venezuelan refugees?
Migration brings a lot of issues with it. For instance, you hear common phrases like, oh, they are stealing our jobs, or, oh, here they come again, or they are everywhere. But also, I have seen the church, being the church, listen to them, helping them, being the brothers and sisters, being the body of Christ, as Jesus said. Jesus said, if you did this to these little ones, if they were hungry, you gave them food. If they were thirsty, you gave them water. So this has been for me, like, now it's a reality. What is in the Bible, now it's happening. This is the chance to help. This is the chance to be real brothers and sisters, the real church. It's just that we need to see outside the church. We need to go outside.
The Western church needs so much of what the Colombian and Venezuelan church has. Sometimes we have our values mixed up and we need them to be reset and we need to be reminded about what's important.
Now we know that we are not alone. Thank you so much.
Yeah. It's hard to comprehend the reality of the economic and migrant crisis in Venezuela. Prices for even the most basic supplies are skyrocketing, and necessary services are no longer accessible. Men and women are left without work as their children start to go hungry. When the situation gets this desperate, there are no real options and people are forced to leave their home, their city, and their country in order to survive. Living Truth and the People's Church are partnering with TearFund and Latin American Mission to provide Venezuelans with the immediate support and long-term care they need as they continue on their journey in search of a new life and home. Our goal is to raise $300,000 to help support the work of the local church through our mission partners. We need your help to reach this goal. We are told in Scripture that whatever we do for the least of these, we do for Jesus. So when we see these images of children, women, and men being forced to embark on a difficult journey in search of the most basic human needs, we catch a glimpse of Jesus. When we extend love and generosity to those in need, we're actually doing it for Jesus. And so, in this time of great need, we encourage you to prayerfully consider making a donation to support the displaced people of Venezuela.
Living Truth is partnering with TearFund and Latin America Mission. We encourage our Living Truth family to prayerfully consider offering your generous financial support. With your donation, together we can provide assistance to those who have become homeless, destitute, and sick. To offer your financial gift, simply visit our website or write to the address on your screen or call 1-888-269-6085. You can also make a secure donation online. We thank you in advance for your generous and heartfelt support. This is a special edition of Living Truth, recorded on location in Colombia. Join Brett McBride as he shares the stories of the men and women dedicated to helping the people of Venezuela on their journey of hope. This is Living Truth, El Camino. In neighborhoods across Barranquilla, local churches step in to provide for not only the physical health of Venezuelans, but also their mental and emotional well-being. This group of Venezuelan women gathers regularly to share their stories, as well as to encourage and support each other. Many of the women left behind homes, jobs, families, and some even their children in search of a better life. The trauma of such immense stress on these women is at times overwhelming, and support groups ensure they're not alone. Colombian Church leaders strive to give the women a sense of community and belonging, which is critical for the well-being of displaced people. Through a translator, Brett McBride connected with the group leaders.
So first I want to say thank you for having us. We just saw your support group. Can you tell me a bit about what we were just observing?
Well, we meet together here every Tuesday with the girls and we share. Because many times that's the only space that they have to pour their hearts out, to talk.
Most of them live very far away. For example, right now we're mentioning that Sunday service is at 10 a.m. and one of them said that she gets up at 5 a.m. to get here for 10 because it's so far away.
So the fact that they travel so far shows how important this group has become to them.
Each woman has a story. That is, each woman is a story.
It's incredible the chemistry you guys have together.
In fact, when they come, they don't want to leave. They don't want the time they have here to end.
I believe also the fact that we open up ourselves also to be part of the support group. It's not that they're the only ones coming, the ones migrating, and they bring a story. We also have a story. So we've had the opportunity to share our story with them. And maybe that's made them see that we're just as sensitive, just as weak, and just as human as they are. I believe that there's been that sympathy of being able to feel the same way.
Thousands and thousands and thousands of people are going to watch this. What do you want them to know about what's happening in Venezuela and what's happening in Colombia as a result?
I would tell them that we must not separate ourselves from our neighbors' problems, from people's problems. We must be compassionate, just like Jesus was, and we must help them with everything that's in our power.
Because it's written that we must help our brother and sister, our neighbor, to love them, because God is there in his or her life.
The migration problem isn't something exclusive to us. I would think that all over the world, there are migrants. And we mustn't wait for it to become huge before we become sensitive to it. From the one living next door to the one who's on the street corner, maybe he is a migrant, and I can extend my hand.
The Colombian churches are united in their efforts to support their Venezuelan brothers and sisters on both sides of the border. However, helping the Venezuelans who remain in their home country is another challenge altogether. Neri Duarte works with Latin America Mission as a humanitarian relief coordinator. His challenge is to smuggle food and medical supplies into Venezuela.
So Neri, we're standing on a trail here, and this is a familiar type of trail for you. Help us understand what's happening in Venezuela, some of the situation that you've seen there, and how these trails fit into some of the work that you're doing in Venezuela.
Well, normally people use something called trochas to cross back and forth with supplies. And so we use something like this, different trails to bring in humanitarian supplies into Venezuela, medicines, food, agricultural supplies.
And so why are you taking trails like this to get supplies into Venezuela?
Well, it was at one point the government disallowed bringing in humanitarian aid. And so we had to resort to this option of bringing in through the back trails. Depending the amount of supplies that I able to get, so I could take between 20 up to 60, 70 backpackers with me.
And how long would you be backpacking through trails like this? How many kilometers?
So it could be 2 hours, it could be 6 hours, depending the river as well. If the river is swollen, then we have to take different options.
And when you're taking these trails, is it a safe journey, or is it, what kind of groups are managing these trails?
It could be the army, it could be the police, it could be the militia. So you normally don't ask people who do you belong with,
right?
Who are you with? You just have to do what you have to do. We normally travel with 1 or 2 pastors. They would be the one who negotiate the safe passage. Pastors here in this area are very well respected. There is a concern with our safety, but so long we are working with the local pastors, we have done well so far.
And what are you seeing when you get to Venezuela? What's the situation like there?
Well, the country is pretty well collapsed. There is no business, there is no gasoline, there is no electricity. So everything is like a standstill. Nothing moves. Basically nothing is happening, except people walking around trying to buy food wherever they could find it, if they have the resources.
So on average in a week or a month, how many trips are you making to try and get this aid and food to people?
So far, I've done 4 or 5 trips. So it varies depending the amount of food I can get and the amount of supplies. And depending also how do we want to divide the supplies. It would change from, like, for example, this morning we shipped approximately 10 packs of food. But then again, we have shipped 70 packs of food. Once we get into the river, we have to cross a river, depending how we want to. If there is no bridge built, we have to swim. That's the big challenge. It's even more challenging when we have to do it at 2 o'clock in the morning when it's dark.
I bet.
And we cannot use the flashlights.
So once you've hiked all these supplies over and got them on a truck in Venezuela, it's still a dangerous journey as you're driving on the roads. You're going to get stopped by various security checkpoints. What's the risk? What do they say when they see this coming into Venezuela?
It varies. It changes according to the people that we meet. A lot of people are praying for us. I could tell you that right away.
Yeah.
Because there are times in which there are no questions being asked. Like 2 weeks ago, I took in a very large amount of medical supplies.
Yeah.
And I was expecting to pass through 11 military checkpoints.
Wow.
And the truck driver was prepared to stop in every one of them because of our large supplies. And we did not get stopped in a single checkpoint.
Wow.
Even the truck driver, he kept saying, I cannot believe we haven't been stopped.
So clearly God's got his hand on you guys in multiple ways, bringing aid. So he keeps watching over you.
Yeah, indeed, indeed.
What's the burden that you've seen pastors carrying? Because they're also going through this crisis.
Those pastors really, really work very hard in not only meeting the spiritual needs of the people of Venezuela, but also sometimes just getting food to feed their children. They go around and ask farmers, people and businessmen, they beg for food.
Yeah.
And they just don't mind going and begging for food. And I feel like kind of embarrassed of how neglectful we are in North America with the poor. And these people, these Christian people in Venezuela that have nothing, are able to provide to people that have nothing. How do they do it? I always ask that question. How do they provide to the needy when they have nothing to provide?
That's amazing. Well, why don't we continue on this trail and keep showing me the journey that we're going to be taking today. Let's take a walk. Access to food and medication are the main reasons many Venezuelans make the decision to leave their home and country. In Venezuela, the markets have either been emptied out or costs have drastically multiplied. And hospitals have been depleted of the most basic supplies required to treat patients. Take a moment to really think about what the long migrant journey might be like for families with sick children, elders, and expecting mothers, having to travel for days, weeks, and sometimes months in already risky health conditions. As you think, do you recognize Jesus in any of this? In Matthew 25, Jesus identifies in first person with the hungry, the thirsty, the stranger, and those in need of clothing and medicine. These are real families just like our own. They are mothers, fathers, sisters, and brothers. Any amount you decide to give will have a lasting impact. Join us as we make a difference together in the lives of the Venezuelan people.
Living Truth, the media ministry of the People's Church in Toronto, Canada, is partnering with TearFund and Latin America Mission. We encourage our Living Truth family to prayerfully consider offering your generous financial support. With your donation, together we can offer assistance to those who have become displaced, destitute, and sick. To offer your financial contribution, simply visit our website or write to the address on your screen, or call 1-888-269-6085. You can also make a secure donation online. We thank you in advance for your generous and heartfelt support.
The people of Venezuela are resilient. They continue to live each day with the determination to survive. Living Truth in the People's Church, along with our partners TearFund and Latin American Mission, are working with local churches to offer Christ's love and compassion to the Venezuelan people. They are actively encouraging their Venezuelan neighbors to reclaim their dignity as they help them realize that their journey can go beyond survival alone, and that there is a loving God who sees past their circumstances and has a future and a hope for them. We invite you to come alongside us as active participants of compassion so that our Venezuelan brothers and sisters are fueled with hope and remain resilient in this time of great need. This is Living Truth.
Join us next week as we continue this documentary mission series and our dialogue with the peoples of Colombia and Venezuela. We ask you to keep our brothers and sisters in your prayers and to continue with your generous financial support. This is Living Truth.